afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to the Faces of Carlsbad on Channel 23, and we're sponsored by Intrepid Potash, and we are very grateful to that company. And we're being, we're just relaxing here today at the beautiful Blue House. The food is good, the coffee is excellent. They tell me I don't drink coffee, but anyway, this is a program where you're going to meet people you've never met before, or people that you've known all your lives, I should say. And today, I'm very pleased to introduce a person I've known for a long time, Mr. Paul Cosand. Paul, welcome to the show.
Thank you. I appreciate it.
And I was just admiring your necktie because you don't see many like that, and I like that.
Well, my wife, years ago, decade or two ago, I was wearing a lot of just plain boring ties, and my wife and my sister-in-law was going, wear something with more interest in it.
That's right.
So they would find me all kind of interesting music ties and everything, and when they found this one for me, it's a fairly old one, but I thought this was one that I really enjoyed. It was one of my favorites because Snoopy's such a lovable character, and it has the music in that, and you know how
Lord,
my dad was heavily involved with music, and I enjoy music, and so this is one of my favorite ties that I've had for a long time.
Well, the viewers of Channel 23, and we have quite a few viewers, are always talking about they've seen somebody that they've never seen before, and they were amazed at his story or her story. And then we see other people, I'll be walking down the street, oh, I watched you interview a very nice man on television a while ago, and I really enjoy watching Channel 23, and it makes you feel good. Not because of me, but because of the people I interview are so nice, and they're learning a lot about the people. And you've got a terrific story to tell. Well, we're going to start with the early days with Paul Cosand, where you were born, where you grew up, and how you met your lovely wife, Cassandra.
Okay. Well, I was born in Tucson, and then my parents moved when I was about 1 or so to Ohio, Cleveland, and
Cleveland.
I lived in Cleveland. Now, we moved back to Arizona when I was about 6.
Mm-hmm.
Moved to Phoenix for a short time, and then down to Tucson, and then Tucson is where I spent all my life through college and everything. Went to high school in South Tucson and southern part of Tucson, and then at Sunnyside, and then went to the University of Arizona. And in the process of going there, let me back up a second. I had no clue that I was going to be in music ever.
You had no clue?
I had no clue. I always enjoyed watching Jacques Cousteau, and I always enjoyed his adventures and all the science and all the things that he was developing and exploring in the ocean. And I thought, that's it. It can't be any better than marine biology, and if I can't do that, maybe microbiology. Then had a chance to start playing the instrument I've wanted to play all along, and that was drums. And my father said that if I'm going to learn drums, you know how kids and drummers are.
Yeah. Yes.
Then that he's not just going to let me bang on drums. I'm going to take lessons. And so I took lessons from a fabulous musician, Ray Vidal. And
what was his name?
Ray Vidal.
Ray Vidal.
And he would play drums with a trio that every week they bring a new group in, and he'd sit down and read the drum parts and do the whole show and everything. And this was during my junior year in high school, and then by my senior year in high school, I practiced so much that my dad started working with me, and professional musician, fabulous guitar player. He started having fun and having me play some of the music with him, and then he's kind of directing me on different styles. And before I knew it, then second part of my senior year, I was playing with different groups and things in Carlsbad and playing with my dad, and that changed everything. Forget marine biology. There couldn't be anything better than playing music.
Well, we've had some, through the years, Martin Luther King organization, we've held these talent shows at our 3 largest schools, the largest schools in the city, and we've turned out some terrific talent. And some of these kids they must have learned a lot from you, because they're very talented drummers, let me tell you.
There's a lot of talent, and it probably wasn't me, but we've had some fabulous music people, band and choir people here in Carlsbad. When I came here, of course, I went to Loving, but I took 2 years of I already had my music degree, taught in Arizona for 8 years, and then ended up working to get a math certification and computer programming too.
Yeah.
But there is so much talent here in Carlsbad, and it's fun to work with, whether they're students or adults.
I'm going to back up a little bit. Where were your parents born?
In Ohio. They were going to take me out to see where they grew up and everything, but being a band director and also involved in building our house and just different things like that, just got so busy that never really came about. But they grew up in Ohio.
The reason why I ask that, that's where I was born and raised, and you were born in Cleveland.
No, I was born in Tucson.
But you lived in Cleveland.
Yes.
And your mother was born in Ohio, was she? Or your dad?
They both were, I think.
Mm-hmm.
Now, my dad I know was, and he was born in Midvale, a coal mining community.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't really know where my mother was born.
You're going to have to check that out.
I will.
Yes, because the next time I ask you, I want you to tell me exactly where she was born.
Well, I will have to check that out. I know that my grandfather was German and my grandmother was Irish, and so my mother had an interesting way of cooking. It was always fabulous. She could walk into the kitchen and come up with food in 20 minutes to feed a family of 4 siblings and my dad and her, and we didn't even know where the food, how could you put that together? But that was just one of those wonderful things. They've both passed away. You know how it is, I guess. You always think about your parents and your grandparents. You're grateful for the talents and the gifts that they've passed on, and the way that they've helped you in so many ways. But without my parents now, my wife is encouraging me. And when we came to Carlsbad back in 1981, July 5th, we totally enjoyed living here. Such a change from Tucson.
What was the big difference that you noticed when you entered this area?
First of all, it was greener than Tucson. The temperatures is almost the same.
Yeah.
It was smaller. You didn't have to wait for the 20 cars ahead of you to get through a red light.
Yeah.
You kind of go, oh no, 5 cars ahead of me, and that you can go from one end of the town to the other in 15 minutes as compared to 45 minutes, half an hour, 45 minutes in Tucson on the major roads. And the people here that Sandra and I have gotten known, like you and so many others, are just wonderful. They're just a delightful population here that we've been very fortunate to meet and work with some incredible people in the community in so many different ways.
So you got involved because your father was a musician. And
Yes.
Was that his main job when he was living in?
He was a musician, and then he was also a hearing aid dealer.
Oh, hearing
He was
aid.
a hearing aid dealer here for a number of years.
Yeah.
And I had no plans in teaching music. My goal was I loved playing in live performances so much, and I appreciated and enjoyed what Ray Vidal did professionally, that I thought, how could it be better than go to college, learn as much as I can about music, and maybe go to Las Vegas or someplace like that and play professionally. And then my band director at the college got me involved with some students, teaching them privately, and then at that point I had to go education. There was nothing greater, and teachers understand that there's nothing greater than see the students' eyes light up, and it's like, oh, I got this. It's really, they own it and they
Yeah.
can do it. And just to see the excitement of that.
So you taught in Loving, New Mexico.
I've
Lovely
taught-
village. I really like Loving.
28 years. I retired this last summer and have been just about as busy ever since, but I'm loving it and enjoying it.
So you taught music the entire time you were in Loving?
I went there. I was teaching music the entire time. That's back when Loving only went through the 9th grade, and then from
Then
the
they-
10th grade on, they came up to Carlsbad.
Yeah, right.
And in 1987, I believe, they started with the sophomore class and moving on up until the first graduating class was May of 1990. And then I was taking from the junior high, middle school band all the way through into high school band. And with small schools, it was really advantageous that I had 2 different areas that I could teach. So they really took advantage of that, which I'm glad they did.
Yeah.
Because I like a variety of things and mixing it up, and so I was teaching math and the band and chorus and drill team and general music and all the different things, and for about 10 years or 11 years, something like that. Back in the late 80s, through the most of the 90s, I was teaching some computer programming, basic skills there with computer programming. And then the rest of the time has just been, I knew I was going to have the high school band and middle school 6th grade band.
Oh, yeah.
But then after that, it was whatever they put me in math or computers.
That's fantastic. And you were out there many, many years, and a lot of kids will never forget their experience with Paul Cosand.
28 years. I absolutely love working with my students. And my students they're in Washington, D.C. working. Some of my students are vice president of a bank here. There's students in all different occupations, and it's so much fun to be able to work in a small community where you still see your former students and the children of your former students. And that last year when I was teaching, I was starting to see some of the grandchildren coming up in kindergarten and 1st grade of my first students.
Well, may I interrupt a moment?
Absolutely.
When you reach the point where you go into a bank, for example, and the bank teller looks at you and says, "Oh, I know you, Mr. Scholl. My grandfather was sitting there the other day and he said he saw you on Channel 23 and he said he was in your class." Grandfather? I now taught kids who are now grandfathers. Can you believe this? This is a shock.
And that's absolutely what happens sometimes.
Yeah.
There are many people that I've taught, and unfortunately I've forgotten some of their names over the years,
Yeah, well,
but the thing that I tried to teach them, not just music, but I think so many of us teachers are just trying to have these kids learn to be the honesty,
Yes.
to have respect for others, to have self-discipline, and to be able to have the ethics and the work ethics and everything, to just do the best job they can. They don't have to be the best, just do the best that they
The best
can.
that they can. Now, you're also involved in music even now, even though you're not teaching anymore. Tell us a little bit about that.
Well, back, I'm thinking about 8 years ago, right in there somewhere, Reginald Von James he started the Carlsbad Wind Symphony.
Yes.
And I talked with him different times, and I said, well, I'll join during the summer because I have time at that point where I can. And absolutely enjoyed it. He was a great person to work with, and I got to know Robert Galindo a little better during that time.
Oh, yeah, Robert.
And then at the August concert, after the concert was over, he told the entire group he is taking the job. His job is moving him to the Dallas-Fort Worth area, and so Robert and Paul will continue on with this.
Oh, boy.
And so Robert and I are looking at each other and going, okay, what are we going to do? But it's worked out well. The people that have coming into the community band over the last 8 years that we've worked with has been incredible. They're fun. They're high school students. They're senior citizens. We have a blast. It is so much fun. About 7 years ago, Mark Barella and I got together and kind of brainstormed it. We developed a community band where we tried to pull in some students and community members with the mariachi band.
Oh, yes.
And now we're going strong. We've performed in Santa Fe twice, in Artesia a couple times. We just got through the last Saturday playing at the Ocotillo Theater and in Artesia.
Oh, that's a nice theater.
Oh, beautiful theater. And we're trying to reach out to the community. We play as many community events as we possibly can. Try to share a little bit of the heritage and everything with the Spanish-Mexican culture here, and we just have fun. And that group has from elementary. Last year we had a 5th grade girl, she's 6th grade now, come and start playing with us through senior citizens. And so it's just a whole community group that we enjoy.
Well, I've heard the mariachis a couple of times, you know, when we honor certain people who've been in this area for many years, and it's amazing. And your enthusiasm is amazing.
We do have a lot of fun. It does take work. We've had beginning guitar players that's never played before come and say, "Can you teach me?" And sure, I'm always willing to do that. And it's still an open invitation. The new band director in Loving, he and I have a good working relationship, and we get down there and work together on Mondays with the band. And then I spend after school on Mondays working with any of the guitar players that want to come and get extra work and extra help.
Wow.
And then the mariachi meets from 5 to 6 after that.
Well, as successful as you've been down there, have they named a street after you yet?
No, and I'm glad they don't. I've had students from back when I first started to recently that just were upset when I announced that I was going to retire. I let my students know when I finally made the decision in January last year that I would, but I finished the year. But I wanted them to know first, and they just go, "But Mr. Cosand, you are the icon for music for Loving."
That's right.
And that was a real honor that they said that.
But I still would like to see Cosand Boulevard.
Not me. I don't want to go that direction with things.
Okay.
I just what I want to do is help the people that I'm with enjoy music, enjoy life, know that they are a blessing to be able to work with.
Yeah.
And that I have been blessed in so many ways by just working with them and seeing them, and between working hard and just laughing and having the time that, the good time that we have during performance and rehearsals, that it all makes it worthwhile.
Well, what other than the music, what do you do in your spare time? What do you like to do?
Well, in my spare time, I'm still finishing the fireplace and the remodel of our house that we had started building about 23 years ago, and it's almost finished. But the honey-do list was fairly long. It's getting shorter, but really I do enjoy working with my hands in construction. I do enjoy working with other people. So my wife and I both volunteer at the Living Desert State Park,
Yeah.
the Zoo and Garden Park, and in various ways. We're both in Assistance League. I was in the men usually of the ladies in Assistance League.
Yeah.
Called themselves Resistance League, and
The
but
Resistance League, yeah.
we always try to help out, because that organization closed over 700 students for school each year, and so I joined, and now one of my big things that I'm doing is trying to work through the building, repair all the things that can be repaired in it, inside and outside, so that by the end of this year, it's brought up to the best it can be.
Well, I admire people like you, because I don't know how to do anything with my hands. I'm at total loss. So it's nice to have somebody here. And Paul, I want to thank you for being our guest today.
It's been a pleasure, Bob. It's always fun to visit with you and see you around.
Well, anyway, on behalf of Channel 23, the Blue House, Intrepid Potash, and what's his name again? Oh, yes, Mr. Guy Lutman, my uncle from England. Goodbye and good luck.
Thank you, Bob.
Hey, it is a pleasure. I want to thank you.
Amazing.